Hello and welcome to another edition of Only in Illinois, your weekly video recap from Reboot Illinois. Madeline Dubeck here with Matt Dietrich, and this is our last show before the big 2014 midterm election. And the candidates are scrambling like almost never before to try to get people to the polls. We're already talking about shattering early voting records. But there's still a lot more work to do, and there's a lot of evidence out there that they're scrambling to find votes wherever they can.
Right, and I think obviously the Rauner campaign learned something from the Brady campaign of 2010, in which, famously Bill Brady lost by fewer than 32,000 votes, less than 1%. And they're
5 more votes per precinct, and he'd be our governor right now?
About 5 more votes per precinct statewide, and he would have been governor in 2010. And I think clearly the Rauner campaign knows that they've got to get Republicans out to the polls. And at my house, I live in Springfield, and we monitor our caller ID fairly closely this time of year because you're getting a lot of these pitch calls on our landline. And but we did get, and they never leave messages, but I did get one message left, and that was from the Bruce Rauner field coordinator for our neighborhood, our little area down in Springfield, left a message saying, if you want to help, call and whatever. And that, I've never had that happen before. I've never had a live person.
And that's interesting to me because, the Republican Party hasn't really had much of a field operation, a get out the vote operation for many, many years, and so that's kind of one of the big questions about this election. Can they give themselves an oiling and get that apparatus working again, whereas the Democrats, it's been for many years a Democratic state, and they've had that operation, and they have Speaker Madigan, who's
and this year especially
master at this.
They have added incentive for getting out the vote.
They have 5 questions on the ballot. 2 of them are actually going to change the Illinois state constitution if they're passed. One deals with crime victims' rights. The other deals with voting rights. They both would actually change the Constitution. We already have some laws that were passed about crime victims' rights, but this would actually be, these 2 are constitutional amendments, and things will change if they get implemented. The other 3 are advisory. They are about the so-called millionaire's tax, to impose a 3% additional tax on people earning $1 million or more to go for education, is the way it's worded. Another on whether insurance should cover birth control. A third one on whether the state should pass a minimum wage increase. None of those have any force of law if they are approved, but they would obviously probably give the Democratic majority in the Senate and the House the mandate to do something on those things if they pass.
And minimum wage has been Governor Quinn's
theme of this campaign for Governor Quinn.
And I think if of all of the things that are on the ballot, those questions, I think probably minimum wage is the one. It's the easiest to understand, and probably affects more people very, very directly.
Right.
So now, turnout in gubernatorial elections has not been terrific in Illinois. Typically, it's about 50% of registered voters turn out to vote for governor, which is, it's kind of sad, really.
So just to put this in a little bit more perspective, we have got, like 12 million people, not quite 12 million, living in Illinois. That includes kids who are too young to vote. Then there are 7 million or so registered voters. So we're talking maybe 3.5 million people voting in, what is a pretty big year.
Right, and I've kind of come to believe that if you can't get out and vote in the governor's race this year, I don't know what could possibly motivate you. This is a race like we've never seen before. You have a Republican candidate who is unlike any other, comes from completely outside the political system. Then you have the incumbent governor who politically is such a polar opposite from Bruce Rauner, that, and The state is in a very
Terrible,
critical,
terrible, critical situation.
and whoever the next governor is going to have to make some very big decisions.
Big decisions on pensions, billions, $6+ billion backlog in state bills by the end of the next fiscal year, mid-year. Decisions about taxes. We're about to have a huge debate about school funding formulas in Illinois. You know, so this next governor is gonna be involved in pushing an agenda that has to do with your wallet, your children, your grandchildren, what kind of schools they have, what kind of business climate we have in the state, how we're doing with putting people back to work,
Exactly.
minimum wage, all these things. I mean, every single critical issue, for once it's not so much about the social issues, although Democrats have been arguing that it is also about those things. But across the board, we're really at a tipping point in Illinois.
Right. Now, if you're one of those people who says, oh, my vote doesn't matter, I do want to bring up one interesting thing when you look at the history of voter turnout in gubernatorial elections in Illinois. In 1982, our chart has a spike in it. In 1982, the voter turnout for the governor's race was 65%. And in that year, you had Jim Thompson running against Adlai Stevenson, big, huge national Democratic name. Turnout was 65%. Jim Thompson won by 5,000 votes. That's 0.14%. Every vote counts.
Absolutely. So, if you haven't been to the ballot box yet, get there, get your friends, get your neighbors, get your family members. Everybody needs to get educated and get out and vote and do their duty and participate in our democracy. As some of our friends at another similar organization like to say, democracy is a verb. So, that's it for this week. We'll catch you on the next edition of Only in Illinois, and thanks for watching.